Thank you for taking a couple of minutes to learn about our For Women by Women conscious fashion movement that's here to make the fashion industry a force for good. So, your first question is, what is the motivating drive behind this work that we do? And the answer is simple. It's women. Here is the fashion industry, a multi-trillion dollar industry that's marketed by women, made by women, and bought by women, but yet somehow run by men. And the issues across this industry are very similar. Whether it's influencers and models who have bravely shared their Me Too stories, talked about being on short term contracts, unsafe working conditions, and dealing with pervasive sexual harassment, or if we were to look at the other end of the supply chain, the part that I'm most familiar with, the makers of our clothes. Here too, 80% of the people who make our clothes are young women in their early 20s. Everyone around her, supervisors, managers, union bosses, are men. She too is up against pregnancy discrimination, short term contracts, working very long hours for very low wages, often in unsafe conditions, and dealing with assault and harassment. As someone who has spent the last 15 years working on the inside of the industry with brands, with local governments, one of the things that I realized was that the industry in itself had forgotten the frontline communities that were dealing with fashion's behavior and its impacts, whether it's from a climate change standpoint, from pollution of their air and water, to the impact on women's bodies, the makers of our clothes. And so Remake is here really for radical disruption, to get a community of young women to rise up and say that we on our watch want to wear our values, to respect and buy from brands that are thinking about women's rights and climate, and to not forget the makers of our clothes. That really is the drive for this work. One thing that most people don't know about me is that I'm a reluctant face to this movement. I had hoped that the issues would speak for themselves, but part of the reluctance might be my background as a first generation immigrant, as a Pakistani American, as the first woman in my family to go to college. I really didn't want to be the face, but it is through our board, our advisors, our community that I realized that I sit in this unique vantage point of having really borne witness to fashion's impact. And so if my being out there really helps inspire and motivate people to come along on this journey, to want to buy less, to want to buy better, I'm happy to be that face. And so it's been an honor to take on wonderful speaking engagements from the UN General Assembly to South by Southwest, TV spots, radio spots, press conversations, all with an eye towards making this movement mainstream. The most powerful moment of this work, it started with us, our maiden series, starting to get more media traction, for us to start to make the fashion industry a little bit more nervous. But I think the biggest and most powerful moment, particularly over this last year, has been the launching of our ambassador network. We're now 235 young women strong across 31 states. We moved from just being in the coastal cities to having chapters in Kentucky and Georgia and Arizona. And to me, seeing young people really come into their advocacy power, their consumer power, to wanting to buy from brands that support their values, to be bringing their friends along and teaching them about climate justice, about women's rights, that has really been so powerful. They are really the heartbeat of our movement and what keeps me so excited. Thank you so much for learning a little bit more about our work. I so appreciate your support and appreciate you taking the time to learn about who we are and what we do. Bye.